George Santos masterminded 2017 ATM fraud, former roommate tells feds. New York, Representative George Santos orchestrated a 2017 credit card skimming operation in Seattle. The man who was convicted of the fraud and deported to Brazil said in a sworn declaration submitted to federal authorities Wednesday, "I am coming forward today to declare that the person in charge of the crime of credit card fraud when I was arrested was George Santos, Anthony Devolder," Gustavo Ribeiro Trella wrote in the declaration. It was sent by express mail and email to the FBI, the U.S. Secret Service New York office and the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Eastern District of New York, according to a copy of the receipt from the United States Postal Service. Trella decided to contact law enforcement officials after seeing the newly minted congressman on television, he said in the declaration. Santos, whose full name is George Anthony Devolder Santos, often went by Anthony Devolder before his first congressional bid in 2020. The New York Republican won a Long Island swing district last November after lying on the campaign trail about his education, work experience and supposed Jewish ancestry. The House Ethics Panel initiated an investigation into Santos last week to explore possible unlawful activity related to his run. State, federal and Brazilian authorities are also probing Santos related to a string of potential financial crimes. Santos has admitted to embellishing parts of his background, but said he never broke any laws. He was previously questioned about the Seattle scheme by investigators for the U.S. Secret Service, CBS News has reported. He was never charged, but the investigation remains open. Santos also told an attorney friend he was an informant in the fraud case. Trella insists he was its mastermind. Santos taught me how to skim card information and how to clone cards. He gave me all the materials and taught me how to put skimming devices and cameras on ATM machines, Trella said in the declaration that was submitted to authorities by his New York attorney, Mark Demetropoulos. Politico obtained a copy of the declaration. Spokespeople for the FBI did not return messages. Representatives for the Secret Service and the U.S. Attorney's Office declined to comment. A lawyer for Santos also did not respond to emails and text messages for comment. Trella and Santos met in the fall of 2016 on a Facebook group for Brazilians living in Orlando, Florida, he said in the declaration and in an interview with Politico. By November, Trella had rented a room in Santos' Winter Park, Florida, apartment, according to a copy of the lease viewed by Politico. That is when and where I learned from him how to clone ATM and credit cards, Trella wrote in the declaration that was translated from his native Portuguese. Santos kept a warehouse on Kirkman Road in Orlando to store the skimming equipment, according to the declaration. He had a lot of material parts, printers, blank ATM and credit cards to be painted and engraved with stolen account and personal information. Santos gave me at his warehouse some of the parts to illegally skim credit card information. Right after he gave me the card skimming and cloning machines, he taught me how to use them, Trella wrote. Trella then flew out to Seattle where he was caught on a security camera removing a skimming device from a Chase ATM on Pike Street, according to law enforcement records. He was arrested on April 27. A spokesperson for the U.S. Attorney's Office in Seattle previously told Politico it's not unusual for credit card thieves to go far from home to nab numbers so there's less chance of the stolen numbers being traced back to the perpetrators. That spokesperson, Emily Langley, said she didn't have any information about Santos' involvement in the Trella case. At the time of his arrest, Trella had a fake Brazilian ID card and 10 suspected fraudulent cards in his hotel room, according to police documents. An empty FedEx package police found in his rental car was sent from the Winter Park unit he shared with Santos. Trella told federal authorities in the declaration Wednesday that his deal with Santos was 50 for him and 50 for me. We used a computer to be able to download the information on the pieces. We also used an external hard drive to save the filming, because the skimmer took the information from the card, and the camera took the password, he wrote. It didn't work out so well, because I was arrested, he admitted. Trella said Santos visited him in jail in Seattle, but told him not to implicate him in the scheme. Santos threatened my friends in Florida that I must not say that he was my boss, he wrote. Trella agreed to say he was working for someone in Brazil and not with Santos, because he was worried Santos would have his friends in Orlando deported, he said in a telephone interview last month. Trella recalled Santos warning he could make things worse for him since he was already in jail and Santos was a U.S. citizen. In an audio recording of Trella's May 15, 2017 arraignment in King County Superior Court, Santos tells the judge he's a family friend who was there to secure a local Airbnb if the defendant was released on bail. Santos also claimed to the judge he worked for Goldman Sachs in New York, a key part of his campaign biography he later admitted wasn't true. Trella was unable to post the $75,000 bail. He pleaded guilty to felony access device fraud, served 7 months in jail and was deported to Brazil in early 2018. Santos did not help me to get out of jail. He also stole the money that I had collected for my bail, Trella told federal investigators in the declaration. Trella told Politico that before flying to Seattle, Santos had traveled to Orlando to pick up $20,000 in cash he instructed Lady Oliveira Santos, another roommate, to give him from a safe. Santos had promised to hire El Chapo's lawyer for Trella, he said. A third roommate in the Winter Park apartment told Politico in a phone interview that Oliveira Santos told him Santos had come to get money for Trella. The third roommate spoke on condition of anonymity because he was in the country as an undocumented immigrant. But Trella never heard from Santos after Santos visited him in Seattle, the third roommate said. He later learned from Oliveira Santos that her attempts to contact Santos over the next few months were futile. Trella realized he had been conned, he said, when no lawyer appeared, let alone El Chapo's. But he still didn't want to name Santos as a co-conspirator, fearing retaliation against Oliveira Santos, who was also an undocumented immigrant, he said. Trella told the federal authorities in the declaration that he had witnesses to support his statements. Oliveira Santos declined to discuss the matter with Politico. I am available to speak with any American government investigator, Trella wrote before providing his email address and cellular phone number and attesting that he signed the declaration willingly and truthfully. A federal prosecutor who handled Trella's case described the scheme as sophisticated, adding that the Seattle portion was only the tip of the iceberg, according to court records reported by CBS News. But a person close to the investigation who is not authorized to speak publicly said they saw no evidence that prosecutors did forensic reports on Trella's phone or seemed motivated to pursue international co-conspirators.
Present in the courtroom is George Anthony DeVolder. He is a family friend of Mr. Trelha's. Mr. DeVolder lives in New York. I've spoken to him multiple times over the last couple of weeks. This is the second time that he's flown out here to assist Mr. Trelha. He has arranged an extended Airbnb for Mr. Trelha to stay at during the pendency of this case.
So what's the connection between this gentleman and your client?
They're family friends.
Family friends.
Yes, and he has been helping Mr. Trelha to arrange a place to stay here in Seattle while his case is pending.
The state hasn't shown me any evidence at this point that he is connected to anyone else in terms of running this scheme. Is that correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Let me hear from his friend briefly. All right, sir, tell me your name. Okay, so how do you know this man?
We're family friends. Our parents know each other from prison. We've known each other for a few years. Lost touch. Got back into touch back in September last year in Orlando when I was relocated from New York for work into the Orlando area.
And so what do you do for work?
I'm an aspiring politician and I work for Goldman Sachs.
You work for Goldman Sachs in New York?
Yep.
Okay. And so you've rented a room or something for him?
I'm just pending your decision here so I can finalize a long extended stay apartment through Airbnb or whatever website it is. Right now I'm in the hotel by the Space Center.
And you're going to do this for him if he's released?
Well, his family is the one actually sending the money over to make sure we take care of everything that he needs and to comply for everything here, as far as
And where's his family?
his family's in Brazil.
In Brazil. What part of Brazil?
They're in Espírito Santo.
Okay. Is that where your family is?
Oh no, my family's from